Hi, it's Ramsey Dewey at the JX Fight Club in Shanghai, China. Today we have a question from Dror, who, I hope I'm saying that right, Dror. It says, "Hi, Ramsey, I enjoy very much listening to your insights. Can you please explain, is boxing considered a martial art? If it isn't, why not? A friend told me that since it doesn't focus on self-development, it isn't a martial art, but does it not in some ways do just that? Thanks." Okay, when I was younger, like 25 years ago, and I started out in martial arts, I felt very similarly to your friend. I thought boxing wasn't a martial art, wrestling isn't a martial art, that combat sports in general weren't real martial arts because it was about competition, which is somehow harmful to your soul or whatever, and real martial arts involve cosplaying like a early 19th century Asian massage parlor attendant in a robe and a belt and pretending to punch and kick at the air and do little interpretive dances with oriental flair to them. And I've since changed my mind quite a bit about that. Now, boxing is a combat sport, but yes, it is a martial art. In fact, it's one of the oldest martial arts in the world. Interesting fact about the indigenous martial arts of the world, almost every single culture has a grappling or wrestling style. But very few cultures have an indigenous style involving striking with the closed fist. Isn't that kind of weird? We're so used to associating fighting with closing the fist because of boxing and kickboxing and Muay Thai and MMA and these other closed fist combat sports that we kind of take it for granted that fighting involves closing the fist. Now, I grew up in the great state of Idaho back in the USA, and Idaho was originally populated by a number of indigenous tribes, including the Shoshone. And there was a journal that I read when I was a kid about this American settler who was passing through Idaho, and he ran into a tribe of Shoshone natives. And he ended up getting in a fight with one of them. And we don't really know anything about Native American martial arts, except for little snippets of journals like this. He said he balled up his hands into fists and he swung and hit the guy, and everybody looked really shocked because they seemed like they'd never seen anyone punch somebody with a fist before. But what the natives did would be kick and wrestle. And he found that very perplexing, and I thought, well, that is kind of perplexing. Why wouldn't they make fists? And I thought about it for a couple of seconds and I realized, wait a minute. For these guys, if they were to fight, most of the time that meant actual warfare to the death on the battlefield, meaning they had a weapon in each hand. Meaning if they're going to use any part of their body that is not a weapon, it's going to be their legs for kicking, and it's going to be clinching and grappling when they tie up. So of course their indigenous martial arts would involve kicking and grappling. The closed fist, however, again, it's a kind of a rare anomaly. We'll see it in a couple of African martial arts. We'll see it in a few Chinese styles. We'll see it in a few Japanese Okinawan styles, and of course Western boxing. But is it a martial art? Well, yeah, what is a martial art? Martial arts doesn't mean putting on a gi and a belt and doing kata. All right? There are martial arts that do include that stuff, but that's not the exclusive definition of a martial art. Martial simply means military, of or related to combat or fighting. So it's a fighting art, a combative art. So, and a lot of people get hung up on that art part. They think about arts and crafts. They think about fine arts. They think about performance arts, and it's not the same thing. It simply means a method of fighting. Boxing is a method of fighting. Wrestling is a method of fighting. Karate is a method of fighting, and so on. So personal development, does boxing help develop you personally? Does it develop your character? Does it develop attributes, physical, emotional, spiritual, etc.? Heck yes, it does. In fact, I would say in many ways better than most traditional martial arts. Why? Because it's real. And please don't get offended if you practice a martial art, actually no, please do get offended if you practice a martial art and you feel like, well, you just told me my martial art isn't real. Notice I didn't specify anything in specific. I didn't say Aikido isn't real, karate isn't real, jiu-jitsu isn't real. I'm trying to think of some esoteric fighting stuff. SAFTA, remember that from like the early UFC? That big dude, the SAFTA grandmaster who came in and pranced around the ring. I'm not going to say that's not real, okay? That's that voice in your head talking to you. So if you're offended, good. That means you need to make some changes. Is it a martial art? Is not the same question as, is it effective in a MMA fight, or is it effective in a street fight, or whatever? Is it a martial art simply means, is it a combative method of training, or a system of combative techniques? And yes, throwing punches and throwing them well and moving at angles that allow you to land that punch, that absolutely is a martial art. Please don't be fooled because you're so used to associating martial arts, the word, with fancy kicks and spins and pirouettes and whatever other nonsense doesn't actually involve an actual martial way, combative methods. Now, in America, when I lived there, there was this idea, this very popular idea that martial arts involved honor and integrity and all these Boy Scout virtues. I mean, martial arts was almost synonymous with like the virtues espoused by the Boy Scouts of America, and I guess they're not the Boy Scouts of America anymore. I read something online about how they want to include everyone, girls, as well, and okay, but again, the Boy Scouts was all about instilling the ideas of honor and integrity and values in young men when I was a kid, and that was really cool. And I think a lot of that carried over to martial arts traditions in America as well, and that's great. I mean, that's great. But if you think that you go to a boxing gym and you're not going to learn discipline, and you're not going to become a better version of yourself because of it, then, you're kidding yourself. If you go to any combat sports gym that honestly approaches combat, you become a disciplined individual. You become an athlete. You gain important attributes, both physical and in every other way. Man, if everyone in this world could master that one simple thing, discipline. If they could master discipline, the world we would live in would not resemble this one at all. So, box if you want to box. Do interpretive kata dances if you want to do that. But don't tell me they're not both martial arts. Thanks for watching. Get out there and train.